I actually love seeing people progress and become better. So that's what my passion is.
Welcome to the next episode of My Posing Coach podcast. My name's Amy Fox and I'm joined today by one of Australia's leading physique prep coaches with over 25 years of industry experience, my great friend Rawdon Dubois. Rawdon, welcome.
Hey Foxy, how you doing?
I'm good,
It's great to be here.
Yes, thank you very much for joining me. We had a good chat off air. You yourself, I would say own and operate your own podcast.
We do. This is far more professional than ours. We do it in a studio, but it's not quite as slick as this. And Cam, the sound engineer, we call him a Wookiee most of the time.
Yeah.
We poke him and he makes noises. But it's
I
do a podcast.
Have I met Cam?
Yeah, you would have met him when you came in. You've come in.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm
just
sure.
that insignificant little guy, a seemingly insignificant guy.
Just
but
make sure this is recording because I want Cam to hear this.
But
Wookiee, insignificant.
No. Well, he appears, but he's actually an integral player. And much like
Harry here.
Harry's doing twiddling the knobs. I give Cam a bit of stick, but it wouldn't be what it is without Cam.
And you're actually doing your podcast Under the Bar with another good friend of mine, Tommy.
Yes, Tommy Two Thongs Hewitt. We it's interesting. We started just having banter in the gym, and then that sort of sprawled into the podcast, and it was really just an excuse for us to fool around a bit. And fortunately, where I used to work, we had a bit of reach, and we managed to get some really cool guests. And then I think people just really liked it, and so now every week we get to fool around, and it's still going.
It's good fun.
Close to 5 years later, yeah. And I think it's because it's not as serious, and we really try and make a point of, because the industry is so serious, and everyone's calling everyone else out, and they do this, and that's wrong, and I'm a better coach because I've done this.
This coach is a guru, but this coach is an idiot.
Yeah, exactly. So we try and make it a point of being pretty loose and not taking ourselves too seriously. I'm pretty sure no one could say we take ourselves seriously.
But I have to say, though, because I obviously listen to yours as well, and I just think you've got fantastic content, and the guests and things that you get on board. Like, as you said, the reach that you've got all stem from maybe this one particular gym that we all met at. So, and I can't believe it's actually been going for 5 years. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And you were saying off air before that podcasts, obviously, they come and go. People don't, or they might underestimate how much work goes into a podcast. Like, tell me about your experience with that.
Well, I mean, it's interesting you say that, and we were discussing that, and I will acknowledge it, but I just sort of sit back like I am in the chair here, and I don't actually do too much behind the scenes. Unfortunately, that's left to Tommy.
He's the tech guru.
He's the other part of the Under the Bar podcast, and who I do it with every week. So he's left with that task of editing and putting everything together. So yeah, he confesses there's quite a bit involved. You'll be fine, Tom. Just knock it over on the weekend. Can we get that episode up maybe this Sunday? And it's like, yeah, no.
Yeah, it's going to take a little bit more time.
Yeah, I think there's quite a bit.
Harry would say the same thing.
Yeah,
there's a lot
he's
that
nodding
goes into
here.
it.
Exactly. So I guess my role would be more orchestrating the interviews and making it sort of liaising back and forth with all the guests and teeing those things up. So I do that, and then obviously I offer my opinions and whatnot as the interview's unfolding. But yeah, Tommy, there is quite a bit involved, definitely, and I think that's why, conceptually they come, but then they seem to disappear in time.
You actually gave me some really good advice for mine, actually, off air. And you said actually listen to the person's answers. Yeah. Because that's quite hard to do, and I found it very difficult. Like, I've got my list agenda. Notes and my agenda of things I need to ask, and you're anticipating the next question that you need to ask, and the timing where you then totally go blank and you're not actually listening for the answer. Does that happen to you quite a lot?
Yeah, I think that's what we'll have a list of questions, obviously, to get the ball rolling and somewhere to go, but yeah, letting some interviews go a completely different direction than what we thought the guest would go. And
is that a good thing? Like, do you find that that's kind of gold? Or
yeah, I think so. I think as long as I mean, you're interviewing the guest because they have they're known for something in the industry. So I think it's a disservice not to let them, go sideways or talk about, because they're all going to be related to the topic at hand, I think. But yeah, that's what a lot do, and you listen to it and they don't really engage the question or the response that the interview he gave. So yeah, that was just a little tip. But,
I think it's a really good tip.
I think you need to have an agenda as well to keep it all flowing. But it seems surprisingly simple. But yeah.
Yeah, I've actually found it quite challenging. Just learning and practicing, and I guess it does just take practice like anything, really.
Yeah.
But over all the interviews that you've done, have you got any interviews that particularly stood out to you that you thought, far out, I didn't expect that to be so good, and that person was fantastic on air, like they were great. They came across for what I know them for, which is their expertise, and they were just able to, relay that information perfectly. Like, have you had many like that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, look, I mean, I enjoy all of them. I mean, it's all lots of fun, and to be able to sit there and talk shop, I think a lot of fun in itself. But I mean, the likes of Dr. Israel and Mike, I mean, he's pretty seamless, and he has a good sense of humour, so it's fun to have him on. Henselmans we've had on quite a few times. Obviously, those two are great mentors of mine as well, and guys that I look up to in the industry and pinch a lot of the things that they do. So I mean that some sort of resonate a little more.
You find them interesting because of their content, like you actually, for yourself, like because they're a mentor, they're easier to communicate with, like on the podcast.
Yeah, I think some you definitely connect with a little bit more because you're just really familiar with them, whereas others, you have to do a little bit of research and a little bit of sniffing around on social media and in Google to get a few facts and figures. But once the ball's rolling, it's usually a great interview. But they all have their strengths, I think, and they're all pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
You've worked with some fascinating people in the industry, actually, and just going back to, I'd say, the Clean Health days where I first met you, a lot of people don't know, but you were my boss.
I was.
You were my boss.
I was. So
you
were
the guy.
Sure you're in uniform and not eating in the gym and all those basic stuff.
Yeah, not eating in the gym. I think one thing that I always remembered was, like I might be mid-set with a client, you'd say, have you finished with that cable rope? Are you going to put that away? Fuck off, Rawdon.
Yeah, pretty much. And
I'll put it away.
No coffees on the gym floor,
shit.
And then our boss would swan around with a coffee. It's like, all right, cool.
Floodgates are open again and we're allowed to do whatever.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, that definitely Clean Health gave me a lot of, and myself and Tommy, Under the Bar podcast, a lot of interviews that we wouldn't have had otherwise. So very grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find even with myself, like just working in an environment like that, I'd never been a part of a gym that was, geared towards that sort of clientele and that kind of mentality, because it was quite a strict, and serious business, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I'd only ever worked for YMCA sort of health club type things. It was a completely different environment. So for me to get thrown into that, just in terms of my own training, I just found it unreal.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I think it was ahead of its time. Probably the only facility in Australia that was churning out. I mean, we had like 25 coaches there at one stage, and they were all pretty busy.
And it was only a small gym, really.
Only a small gym, yeah. 500 plus sessions a week. I mean, there's few facilities in the world that can claim those sort of numbers. So yeah, at one point in time, it was pretty hectic, and it was amazing to be a part of. And I think it all molded everyone who's been through there. Quite a few big names in the industry, actually.
Absolutely.
Molded us all a little bit, and it was.
I think it's definitely had an impact, and it's definitely influenced me. I can say that for sure.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have as many opportunities if I wasn't part of that brand too. I mean, that said, I put my heart and soul into that company too, and I
did.
For many years. It was 4:45 opening the gym door. I think
you work Saturdays.
I work Saturdays. Did the strongman session every week, exactly. So I mean, I certainly did everything I could for the company as well. So it was nice to actually get something back, and it was awesome. Good times.
What did you like? Were you ever managing personal trainers before Clean Health, or was that the kind of role that you were kind of thrust upon?
Yeah, sort of thrust upon. I mean, Dane.
Were you nervous about taking that position, or are you quite excited about it?
Not. I just took that position. It wasn't. It didn't have really thoughts either way. It was just a role that had to have someone do it. And over the years, I was PTM, I was education manager, PT manager, education manager, club manager at the end there. So yeah, I mean, I did whatever I was required to do, I guess, while I was working there. And then obviously I was still coaching, so senior coach there at Clean Health too. So yeah, it was more, I was just sort of doing what needed to be done for the greater good of the company, I suppose. I wouldn't say I would, I've managed people before. I was in industry, the courier industry, so I was in management and 200 plus drivers.
I didn't know that.
So, yeah. So
I didn't know that.
200 plus drivers, so, being able to work with all those different personalities.
Yeah.
I guess that was, developed a bit of a skill set there for sure.
And what did you find most difficult about it? Like, was it dealing with the different personalities or trying to, structure things so the PTs could be better personal trainers? Like, what was difficult about that role?
I mean, there's a bit of, everyone, there was different tactics for every coach, at the end of the day, we wanted the coaches to be punctual to sessions, deliver good sessions.
The basics.
All the basics, follow the methodologies and the programming like we want as a company. But everyone had their little nuances and things that some you couldn't tell them to do things. It was, they had to sort of choose to do it that way themselves. So, yeah, I mean, that was probably the biggest challenge, just being able to get the most out of all your coaches and really keeping all the coaches happy, which is obviously
easier said than done.
Yeah, it's an impossible task because everyone has different sort of needs and goals themselves within the company. So, and then also keeping them there long term, putting that infrastructure of further education like we do, and then obviously getting quite a few seminars to come through the facility helps. But, keeping coaches there long term is always, challenging.
You were definitely, as far as a PTM, personal training manager, the type of person that really pushed for that higher education and, keep attending seminars and upskilling and all this type of thing. Like, is that because that's something that you do yourself, or you just feel that's better for the business overall to keep client retention, or
I think
the reason?
I mean, I'm always learning. That sort of it's a hashtag I throw on all my Instagram. Always learning.
Yeah.
I suppose that mentality came from the top down. I think Dane, worked out how much he'd spent over the years, and I think it was like $500,000.
Yeah, it was hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. And so I guess that was the mentality and the culture of the company. So, but there's obviously a ton of merit in further education, being as good a coach as you can be in the industry. I think, with the caveat there, educating yourself on things that are relevant to what you actually do, rather than just blindly educating yourself, doing a little bit of everything. It's like, work out, what you want to focus on, and then educate yourself as much as you can in that field, I think.
And it's funny because it really opens up doors, and you can see the gaps in the industry as well. So like you yourself have, put seminars and workshops together where those gaps are, evident.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it became easier for me when I sort of realised that this was what I wanted to do in the industry, and this was the demographic that I wanted to work with. Then
more so
the further education was easier. It just fell into place. Whereas if you don't really know what you want to do in the industry, you sort of, what do you do? How do you further educate yourself? So I think working that out initially, and then just sourcing the best resources and courses and seminars and people, just mentoring with coaches. That's what I tend to do now. Just go directly to the source and pay them whatever they want to just pick their brain and hone my craft as a physique prep coach.
Yeah, and a lot of people, they'll chase those CEC points because that's what, in my head, that's what I would follow initially, do the CEC points. And if it means I've got to get 18 points over 2 years and I have to do a fitball course that doesn't really match with my bodybuilding aspirations, well, so be it. Where this way, I've sort of taken on board the way that you work as well and think, you know what, this person seems really good to learn off. Let's just pay a 1 hour consult and see what I can pull from that individual. And it seems to stick, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think because that's what I do now. I've done quite a few courses, over the years, and
I've looked at your your course,
Yeah.
the ones that you've attended, and it's massive.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't say that you've received points such as, you know, CCs and things like that for those particular ones, but they've probably helped you, you know?
Yeah, I think there'd probably still be great CEC, you know, courses out there, but yeah, a lot of the stuff I didn't have CECs.
No.
But what I do now is, like you said, I just source out and I just pay. Like I mentor with a few Menno Henselmans I mentor with weekly at the moment, and Broderick Chavez. I mean, anyone that knows me knows those two.
The Evil Genius.
The Evil Genius, yeah. So those two are two that resonate well with me at the moment. And
so why is that? Like, why have they sort of attracted your attention and your interest?
Well, I mean, I guess for me, both those guys, it's been years. Like Henselman's before he. I mean, obviously, he was Menno Henselmans, but before he became bigger and more well-known, I was mentoring him way back in the day, probably like 5, maybe 6 years ago. I started mentoring with Menno and did his PT certification course, and it was just really resonated well with me. It sort of filled in all the blanks and pretty much
practical information that you could apply to your clients.
It was sort of like it just didn't have all the fluff of that you sometimes get, like unnecessary information. It was very specific to coaching, which was really I think
no time wasting,
bang for the buck. You know, it was really return on investment was really good. So you just basically learned what you have to learn to be a better coach doing what we do. So that sort of really fit well with me, and then like Broderick, like that's again a completely different way of doing things. But I guess those two they've just stood the test of time. Like I haven't like some you
they haven't been a fad.
Haven't been a fad, and they've been around for a while. I mean, Broderick obviously he lived and breathed bodybuilding and athletic performance from the
Where's
age
he
of
based now?
Delaware, USA.
Yeah, okay.
I've been to his house. I can tell you what it's like. Yeah,
he
has
awesome.
some ferrets at the moment. If he's listening,
ferrets stink, don't they?
Well, I don't know.
They must be smelly little creatures.
His girl's got a couple of girls and a lovely wife, Kaiwan, and they sort of bring him into the camera. So Skype with him. And it's like, I don't get it, but okay, cool. But yeah,
he probably doesn't get your dog.
No, he does. He came. So he's done a few seminars, as you mentioned, and Broderick has been out. And he legitimately rolled around on the first on my my floor at my unit when he came over and rolling around with JD. Yeah, he loves dogs.
Yeah.
But the ferrets, whatever. But he and Menno just stand the test of time, and I learn from them every week, and I value it immensely, and I will continue to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Speaking of Jada. How old's Jada? Jada's your dog.
English Staffy, English Staff.
Staffy.
Anyone that follows me on Facebook, friends on Facebook, is probably why I have, more friends than probably what I do actually have because of Jada. They love watching her videos, but she's 5 at the end of this year.
Yeah,
so
gosh.
5 years. Yeah.
Because you got her obviously when she was a pup. I can't believe it's been 5 years now.
Well, that was pretty much after I left Clean Health.
Yeah.
I got Jada, so it was 5 years ago.
Because Emily had the same dog, didn't she?
So her and Paulie had Axel. I think Axel's might be like he's younger. I think he's a little bit younger.
Yeah, right.
But yeah. Well, they've actually got Charlie now, so
I know.
Em's had a little one, which is very exciting. And a
super
full
exciting.
head of hair came out with like a mullet.
Yeah,
it was
all
crazy.
this hair. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Tell me about Jada. So she sort of accompanies you to all of your business meetings and with clients.
Well, look, I am a little more professional.
Taking minutes.
Not all my business meetings, but like when I'm catching up with friends, one of the things that I do love to do is just catch up with colleagues and have a coffee, and if they want to ask about things, ask, but just catch up, talk shop. So then she might come, and then she'll behave if there's cookie on offer. Otherwise, she'll just be a pest and howl at us.
She's very social.
She is.
Extremely social dog.
But she's very, very good. But like Jada, she came to our Evil Genius seminar, so the big seminar we had last year. So we had 110. I think I don't know what the record is for a seminar for someone coming to Australia, but it was 100. Like we had over 100 coaches
Just
came
madness.
to the seminar. Yeah, it was
Crazy.
like it was one of those moments in time that will
I
probably
think that
never
would
happen
be
again.
like that's the biggest I've heard, to be honest.
Yeah, and they were like all paying like it was.
Yeah.
But Jada came to that one, so
Yeah.
she was just running around. Can you imagine 100 coaches all patting her, and she was
loving it.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like she, most of my world is spent on the laptop because I'm a physique, fundamentally an online physique prep coach. So aside from face-to-face check-ins that I do and some posing with my athletes, I send them to you or Charlie Duca first for posing, but then I just hone it. It's like, no, go back to...
Rawdon, you're a very good poser yourself. Like you know what you're doing.
But I don't, like, I would rather support others in the industry that specialise in it. Like, I can look at it and poke and prod, but no, like, let's go get professional breakdown and then we'll tweak it each week. So that's how I look at that. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be a posing coach.
You want to be an online prep coach.
And that gets back to that point I made where once I establish that, then it's easy. Like, maybe you should like do some more posing sessions. Like, no, I don't want to be that guy. I am just physique prep guy. That's all I want to be. But
speaking of that, like what divisions, like I know that obviously you specialise in everything. Like there's nothing that you can't do in terms of bikini through to bodybuilding. But have you got a particular favourite? Like, do you prefer working with the female athlete, or do you prefer working with the male athlete from a certain category? Like, what's your... I don't
know if you feel the same way, but maybe like women's physique you might have a soft spot for, because that's where you...
That's your thing,
That's your thing. That's what you got pro card in. So for me, bodybuilding is my background. Competed in the INBA many moons ago. 2010 was the last time I was on stage. So
do you miss it, Rawdon?
I miss that just the grind, and I really love pushing the body to see what it's capable of. But the last time was pretty tough, and I've done a few cuts in between, and I'm a little bit fearful of how hard I would push it if I were to do a comp again. Yeah. So I definitely have to have a coach to keep an eye looking over things, because I think it'll be prep coach dies in doing cardio or something to try and get
due to own protocols.
What the hell. So I miss it. I do miss it, but at the same time I know what's involved to get me ready, so I don't miss it. It'd have to be structured.
That mindset's maybe not quite there.
Like I just have to have a different business structure. I couldn't do it because I would be doing a disservice to all my athletes that I do coach, because I know there's a lot that do prep themselves and coach athletes, but I don't know how they do it. But I think they'd be the first to say that it's
not impossible, but impossible for most.
Yeah. So I guess bodybuilding for me, it's great that classic physiques come out where, I guess, what's with an athlete that doesn't train legs? Seriously, who doesn't want to train legs? We're the men's physique
boys. It's so weird. It's so weird.
Everyone wants to wear board shorts on stage, but hey, hi James Carn, pro. But no, all jokes aside, I think any of the bodybuilding divisions, I guess that's what resonates with me. But that said, I do like a mix of everything. I like the females, like
it's nice
a
to have
couple
that
of
variety.
bikini, and then a couple like Sharon Wingate, some figure girls that are hardcore, and some women's physique, and then some bodybuilders and some men's physique guys. So fortunately, I'm very fortunate that I do have the opportunity to work with some great athletes. So touch wood, I always have a little bit of a few in
You've
different
got a
divisions.
mix of
a little bit of
athletes,
mixed bag,
which is great.
Which does make it more interesting, definitely.
So when you competed last time yourself, 2010. Were you prepping athletes then? Like, did you have anyone, or was that back in the courier days?
No. Like the courier days. Well, actually, 2010 when I did my last show, that was when Dane helped me and I got second. When I did it myself, I got first. So go figure. But Dane coached me for 2010, and I was after that is when I started working for Clean Health. So he helped me into my last show where I placed second in opens, which was great still. But prior to that, I was working in the career industry, so it was really easy to prep, because you could do your cardio and whatever, go sit it. It was hard because it was mentally quite a challenging job, but you weren't physically just sitting there, and you could eat your meals. Blah, blah, blah. So it was great for prep that way. But that was 2009 when I did that one. But that was a desk job. But I was PTing, and I think had a waiting list there because I just couldn't take any more clients on.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing prep coaching, but I was a PT.
Yeah.
So and I think I had 50 sessions. I was at Hornsby Fitness first, so
That's
50
huge
sessions I was doing, plus I was training 3 times a day. So I mean, you can do it, but
it comes at a cost.
It comes at a cost, and I wasn't coaching physique athletes. It was just general pop, which and I didn't do any programs. It was more just 50 sessions.
Yeah,
if
you turn up,
sense.
deliver the session,
Exactly.
leave. Don't have to worry about the check-ins, this and that.
So that was a little bit easier, but yeah, the last one, 2010, I was PTing, correct.
Yeah, and were you happy with the package that you brought to stage then? Like when you look back?
No, like
No.
we with that one we didn't do any cardio, which may or may not have made the difference. I don't know. Yourself, it's all about energy balance. Do you have to do cardio? Probably not. But I know Justin Wessels grinds it out, does a lot of cardio, and probably the most conditioned guy ever born, ever to grace the competition stage. So
not the biggest, but definitely the leanest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I've
So I
seen
think-
both, like you have too, like people doing cardio and it not working, and then people like Justin doing cardio and it,
but
working a
the
treat.
difference would be the time before I did do cardio and a lot of it, so that seemed to
Steady
work
state, or what were you doing?
So I did a mix of some interval and like modified intervals
Okay.
and steady state, but we did more training, more resistance training for the last time, which I was bigger, like it was 4 or 5 kilos heavier, but it wasn't as lean. So it was like if I got leaner, it'd probably be a similar weight, but bigger. Like some body parts were improved, but no. I mean, I think the one I presented the year before was obviously good enough for the win, but I will say in the same breath that it was different back then. This is 2009. It just wasn't as competitive. Like
the pool
today,
wasn't as big.
No, like today I look at the lineups for ICN and they holy
shit.
moly, like these guys are just crazy where they come from, because I think there's a lot more people doing it. So I won the overall, but whether that would happen today, I don't know. But yeah, I was
still the best
happier
on the day that day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was happier with the physique that I presented before. So that last comp where I wasn't as happy, that is the only reason why I might do another show one day.
Redeem myself.
To a degree, but yeah, not anytime immediately soon. Foxy.
Just checking.
Just checking.
So what would you say, like, what are your strengths, like, with your body? Like, looking at yourself on stage as a prep coach now, what were your strengths? What were your weaknesses? What areas would you address?
For me, conditioning was like I had feedback, like photos and there were videos didn't really do any justice. I think I was one of those physiques where it was like, oh my god, like where's this guy come from?
Yeah, he's lean.
So I'd popped up out of nowhere. I hadn't competed. I'd competed in 2007, so this was 2 years later. But I didn't. I wasn't known. There was no real. I wasn't part of that industry or anything, so I rocked up. So I think conditioning, the calves, obviously hamstrings were particularly good, and quads were. The lower body conditioning, I suppose. I wasn't the biggest, so I was 79 kilos when I won the overall, so quite light. So probably conditioning, backs good, lower body's good, biceps, shitty. I mean, that's always a nemesis of mine, and for me to be more competitive.
You and me both. Shitty biceps.
Shitty biceps. Yeah. What the hell?
Mm.
And Wessels has got good biceps.
Yeah,
bloody Wessels. You're good on your Wessels. Well, you're not the biggest though, are you? Pilates beat you. But anyway, probably like if I were to, if the question is more what would you do to be better next time, it would be like what every bodybuilder says, a little bit more size and even better conditioning than what I did when I won the overall. I'd be content with that, but subtle. I mean, delts as well. Delts probably need a bit of work. So yeah, I mean, you could pick your body to pieces as well. But I guess to answer your question, what was my better body parts? It was my lower body, hamstrings particularly were good, and
you're definitely known for your calves, Rawdon.
Yeah,
and you still are known for your calves.
Yeah.
And I would say you're known for the calves, your boat shoes, and your thongs. So what's the deal with those three things?
Well, the boat shoes are.
And you wear short. Are you wearing shorts now?
No. Got pants on today, but it's raining outside, so yeah. But I guess the thongs, I mean, that's probably stemmed a lot from our podcast where we try not to take ourselves too seriously. And for us, it sort of stemmed, I think, from days back at Clean Health, where it was a pretty full-on stressful, I mean, club manager. You can imagine there was, and Dane will probably fold his arms and say, well, he wasn't a very good club manager. Well, it wasn't my strength, but I certainly did my best to be a good club manager. There was a lot of stress that came along with it. So, when I left, it would be I would get
Thongs
changed, shoes off, thongs on. It was immediate sort of, we used to joke, cortisol reducing effect, we put the thongs on. So that's probably where it stems from, where it's just it automatically puts you into a relaxed state when the thongs go on.
I remember doing a course, you were running the course actually, and one of the prezzies that we all got given as attendees was a pair of thongs. So to do the seminar, we had to take our shoes off, put the thongs on, and then you presented your information. It was, it was awesome.
Well, everyone was nice and relaxed.
Everyone was nice and relaxed apart from me because I don't like my toes. So.
You can hide them under the desk. It's okay. And the boat shoes, what she's talking about there, the Ray-Bans. I mean,
what the hell? What the hell are they?
Well, look,
I really like them.
Well, they're. I mean, for everyone that's in here, I'll pull one out. This is the latest incarnation, but you can see how it's just paper thin, the sole. So they only last you about 3 weeks. Then I got to get a new pair. Yeah. But I don't know, like what's wrong about them? They slip on. There's no laces. Their proprioception's really good. You can train. Great for deadlifting. Look at the soles.
Good for deadlifting, yeah.
Terrible. And actually, when I left, came in, I looked around, I couldn't see so I went to walk down the stairs and I slipped. So they're not very grippy, not very good boat shoes, but very, very comfortable. I just slip along. So it's been a bit of you're right, I am, people
know you for this, Rawdon.
Yeah, I know. It's
they know you for the thongs, the calves, the boat shoes, and I'll have to say also the coffees.
I do drink and probably Jada, but we've mentioned Jada. But yeah, I do drink coffee. That's correct. There's lots of there we go. There's about 1 billion coffees there. There we go. Yeah, everyone gets roped into it.
Coffee selfie.
Coffee selfie and love hearts on the end of every. So if you see anyone doing coffee selfies or a pic of the laptop saying they're in the office copying me, if they put they sign off on a love heart, that's copying me too. I own those things. So FYI. But yeah, the coffees. I mean, who doesn't love coffee? Seriously.
That's
quite a few go down. And interestingly, when I present, because I do presentations this year, we got one coming up. For Level Up Continuing Education. Pumped about that. But I don't eat so fast, and I'll just live on coffees. But I'm far better presenting
on coffee.
When I don't eat and just keep it all nice and tight and just neck a ton of coffee. But
so what type of coffee do you
just
drink?
espresso.
You like your espressos?
Yeah, I don't put any other filth in it.
No. What do you think about the artificial sweeteners in the coffees?
Artificial sweeteners, in prep, I don't... look, the research has shown that I think the dieting and fat loss is better if you do let them have artificial sweeteners. And by them, I just mean anyone that's dieting and trying to lose body fat. But for me, with what I do, it's all about whole foods. I just think it's artificial. You're putting something artificial in the body, so that's let's keep it out for that reason, just for the duration of prep. I don't think they have any long-term negatives. I think it's been proven by, over and over again. And the other thing that they can do for some is what I try and do nutritionally with my athletes is create a more of a relationship with food or nutrition as just fueling the machine. And
so more of a healthy relationship because you see so many. Is that because you see so many people rebound badly after shows?
Well, potentially that like they understand that the food is just fueling the machine, and to try and detract any emotional connection to food. Because if an athlete doesn't have emotional connection to food, they are an athlete that follows the nutrition really well. Yeah, and they don't have these craving or urges to binge or eat things that are super sweet, and that's where the artificials may, for some, not for everyone. Yep. This taste palate reward hypothesis you might hear thrown around. I think that's what you refer to it as, but it's basically you taste something sweet, you want something sweet, so that can induce potentially other
more problems throughout the prep.
Potentially more problems seeking other things to satisfy that sweetness. Whereas if you take everything out, make it relatively bland, obviously good food, whole food choices, but actively set it up so it is quite bland and encourage not to be emotionally connected to food. Like initially it's quite difficult, But then over time, the prep is far easier. It's just not about, they're not living week to week, meal to meal. I mean, it's binge eating disorder. I mean, that's essentially what you're doing. You got an eating disorder because you're living from one cheat meal to the next, and that's a horrible existence. And it does tend to continue after prep. I mean,
absolutely.
You and I are both in the industry and know what it can be like post prep. So
can be
for those
quite
reasons,
catastrophic, can't it?
Absolutely.
And I guess with you, do you find those little things in terms of clients asking for, okay, whatever, can I have this artificial sweetener instead of stevia? Maybe can I have some diet jelly or blah, blah, blah? Is that for you a red flag? Like, is that a warning? To sort of, okay, let's just watch how this kind of develops. Like
potentially. I mean, I use a phrase whenever I talk to my guys: success leaves clues. And the ones that tend to follow my recommendations, and that's what it is. I'm not a nutritionist, so these are recommendations for you to follow. They can choose to follow it or not, and the ones that tend to follow it closest tend not to have issues with binging and eating off plan and doing all that type of stuff. So. The actual what was the actual question?
Just in terms of
red flags. Not
red
necessarily
flags and
red
opening the floodgates, like saying yes, you can have artificial sweetener, and then just being aware as a coach that it starts to snowball a little bit, or are there things that make you kind of, take note?
This one's going to be a problem, So, I mean, potentially, but not necessarily. It might lead on to other things, but it's more, they know what they like. Before someone works with me, I'll sort of outline what's involved. So, it usually can be like you're suggesting can I have some diet drinks? And it's like, well, you can if you want. It's up to you. It's not on the plan. If you choose to do it, it's on you. You're working with me because of the Dubois Method. The Dubois Method doesn't have artificial drinks and sweeteners, so it's up to you. So I do put it back on them, and some may take that up on occasion, but if anyone does end up sort of deviating and binging and stuff like that, it's usually, if I do look back, that there is this
trend.
I had a few diet, like when they submit their report at the end of the week, I had a few diet drinks off plan and this and that. So I think that if it does occur, there's usually a few things that did point to that. But in regards to red flags, not necessarily. Like, I always give everyone the benefit of the doubt and just let them, I don't assume things. I don't take athletes on based on, I had a bad feeling about that one. It's like, well, this is what's involved. And they go, yep, I can do that. It's like, all right, cool, let's start you up. And we go from there. Some don't last, but usually it's within a couple of weeks they sort of realize what's involved and pull the pin. But others, it resonates well and they slide into the system and they really
do well.
They do well and they get a lot more out of the process. So, I'm trying to create something that's easier for them to follow as well. Like at face value, it might be hard.
So they don't have to think about it. They just
they just do
read it and do it.
Exactly, in a world that they're not thinking about food and the next sort of off plan meal is an easier world in prep, I think.
Yeah.
So that's the rationale and the thought behind doing that.
Would you call yourself a strict coach?
It's interesting. I mean, it depends how you define a strict coach. Like a lot of what I do is based, like you said, 25, it's closer to 28, 29 years training anyway, not industry experience, sure. But like the way I set up and structure things is just how I've done it myself. It's like, this is primarily, like, it's a very close reflection of what I actually did to prepare myself for shows. And so it's sort of like, this is just, is it strict? Well, yeah, I suppose, compared to others, but this is just like, you should be volunteering to do all these things. I think, like, you should,
because you're the one wanting to get on stage.
Yeah, you're the one wanting to. You should be, well, okay, yeah. What more can I do? Like, should I be doing this, or should I do more cardio now, or should I avoid this food, or do you want me to eat less now? It's like, no. There's a system in place. Just follow the plans. Ask any questions. Like, I encourage questions all the time because I want full transparency. I want them to be honest with me, and I tell them what's happening.
Yep.
I tell them what's happening every week. I tell them what's happening every month. They can ask questions at any time. So I prefer us all to be on the same page. But So strict, yeah, compared to others, but I just think it should be. I'm pretty sure, if again to reference just because Justin Wessels is someone that we both know, I'm pretty sure like if people looked what he did, they go, "Oh man, that's so strict. There's no way I could do that." It's like he would just say, "Well, this is just what you do in prep. Like,
that's right.
It's not strict. It's just this is prep.
Yeah.
Like it's not like people seem to want to have a life, and I mean that sounds really bad. Like obviously
I know
still
what
have
you
a life,
mean.
but they
I know
still
what you
want everything else that they have
That's
now.
right.
But I want to do a prep as well. It's some things have to be sacrificed, you know. Like
Absolutely.
it's not that you can't be social, but when you are social, you're put in an environment where there's lots of temptation and lots of people saying, "Oh, that won't matter. Sure, one drink won't matter," or whatever. So sometimes it's better just.
Or you order a salad and it comes out with a little bit of dressing, and you think, "Oh well, I'm out. I may as well just eat it," instead of being a pain and telling them to take it back. It just makes things more difficult, more complicated.
Potentially, yeah. Some can do it just fine, and but others, you know, sometimes it's best just to avoid those situations. So, is it strict and you've got to change your lifestyle? Yeah, but you're the one that wants to be the best you can be on the competition stage, and it's going to require a few. For others, more sacrifice. For some, it's not as much sacrifice.
That's
but
right.
But I think everyone sacrifices a fair bit to get ready for stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think makes a good client? Like, what sort of things do you look for that you think this person, like, regardless of their genetic potential, this person is going to be a very competitive competitor because they've got the right mindset, or you know, like what sort of things that really stand out for you as being a good trait or a good quality in competitors?
Yeah, really good question. Like, I don't know whether I could put my finger on, well, this is the trait that they need to have. I think attention to detail, I think that really, really goes a long way, where, you know, you adjust something or you put a note somewhere and they actually question it. It's like, oh, so this means that. It's like, oh, wow, you actually read the whole email. Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
So that
that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, that could suggest that they're going to be, well, the attention to detail, I think, is a big part of it. And, you know, so if they're showing that they're sort of being more involved in the process, that's a good sign that they're probably going to apply themselves really well to the physique preparation process. So,
have you had more success, would you say, from other personal trainers, like personal trainers that seek out your services, or general pop that want to do an extreme sport? Like, which ones have you sort of found have been more compliant overall? Yeah,
I think it can go either way. Like PTs can have preconceived sort of notions and strategies and beliefs of how things should be done. And but whereas Gen Pop comes in that have no sort of preconceived notions or any idea of what to do, they can be really good. They can just immerse themselves and follow the plans really diligently. So both can be, it all comes back to that they just really, you know, apply themselves well to the plans. But PTs and coaches, you know, as far as I'm concerned, they should know better. Like they should be the super clients. They should be the one immersing them. They know the process. You have a coach because it's the coach's responsibility to get you ready for stage. By all means, you know, I encourage all the athletes I work with to ask, like I said earlier, any questions they want, so they understand that if someone understands something, they tend to apply themselves better and follow something better. Yeah. So I do encourage questions and about everything I do. Everything I do has rationale and thought behind it. I don't do anything on a whim. Do this because hopefully it will work, and no, it's because do this because this and this should happen. You know. So I think it's more like that. If they're that person, it's going to be a good application to the process. But I wouldn't necessarily say PTs are better or worse. It's just individual specific, I think. But you can get great ones, as you know, in both. Like some PTs are just really in the zone and they apply themselves well, and then some gym they come out of nowhere and it's like, oh my God, where does this guy or girl come from?
That's
like
right.
They're just crazy. And same can be said for genetics too. Like you know yourself, you can't judge a book by its cover, and that's the thing about genetics. There are clues, definitely. You can look at sort of like wrist girth measurements and things like that to see the anabolic potential of an individual. Like for guys, big jawline, they're going to be, you know, they're going to be able to grow muscle, but you know, like you can start training someone, they morph into this amazing physique. So I think that's that. One
that comes to mind, your client at the moment, Mateus.
Yeah, Mateus.
Yeah, like he's turned into a bit of a freak now, I think.
He has, and But he had some good shape still earlier on, so it was like, you're in pretty good shape. But yeah, he just morphed into this like crazy, and
I have to say he's the one that's impressed me the most as of late, because you've sent him to me a couple of times for posing, and it's like a different person walks through the door.
It's amazing. Like he's hyper responded, but it's really interesting. He's Brazilian, and there's he's from down the beaches, and there's like a bit of a Brazilian sort of, I don't know if a lot of them are down the beaches, but that's a part of Sydney where a lot of them reside. But since then, there's all these other Brazilians sort of contact. I think I've got another 2 or 3 that I've started coaching just because they've seen Mattias.
Yeah.
So it's such a good advertisement for business. And it's not like I did anything, well, Mattias, we're going to give you the full package and we're going to get you really looking good. It's just...
I'll give you special treatment, but everyone else is just
they don't get anything. It's just the same stuff I do with everyone, but he just... and truth be told, I mean, Mattias, if you're listening to this, sorry, mate, but my other guys that I know will say he trains like a pussy. Like my God, if he actually trained hard, how good would he look? So, yeah, that's the other thing that sucks. So I don't think he trains super hard, but he trains enough to get the response that he wants.
And that's all that you need, really. Like, I mean, there's no point in busting ass if you don't have to.
Exactly. It's better to be the weakest bodybuilder in the gym if you respond to it. It's less stress on joints, connective tissue. And he had a few niggles here and there, so he's probably erring on the side of caution. But, but yeah, Mattias is crazy. Yeah. So occasionally, I mean, that's part of what is really exciting about what we do as physique coaches, is just seeing these... And for you as well, seeing someone, present beautifully on stage, it's like, they did well. They really did well. So I love seeing that. I love bodybuilding, don't get me wrong, but I don't follow, like my clients, athletes I coach will be telling me, oh, you've seen Olympia.
Who came 10th, 11th, 12th, they'll be able to rattle them off.
Have you seen that physique guy, so-and-so? I'm like, well, which one's he? Is he the one with the black hair?
What federation is he in?
Yeah. But I love the process of bodybuilding, and I love seeing transformation. I love seeing what the body's capable of. That's what and getting the most out of the physique is what I really am drawn to. Not bodybuilding really as a I love it as a sport, but it doesn't. I just love the whole process and seeing the transformation.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. Rawdon, thank you very much for joining me today.
Absolute pleasure.
It's been absolutely fantastic. If people want to find out more about you and your coaching and the services and Jada and sit down and pick your brains over a coffee.
Yeah.
How do they get in contact with you?
Probably just I did have a website, but it never came into fruition, so it was just like a dead end. So probably don't do that. Just Instagram and Facebook, the Dubois Method, DUBOIS Method. Hit me up, message me, pay for coffee. You'll get whatever you want from me, and just Rawdon Dubois on Facebook. You can friend me. I accept everyone. We've got friends in common, and happy to talk.
All the freaks included.
Yeah, all the freaks included.
Muscle worship freaks, everyone.
Yeah, so if you want to do whatever, prep, mentor sessions, whatever you're interested in, I can help you out.
Cool. And I will make mention the physique prep course for Level Up Conditioning. We're both teaching that in a couple of weeks' time. So if you haven't already booked or you're looking at booking a session, hit us up, either myself or Rawdon, and get yourself on board for that next prep course. It's going to be spectacular. Awesome. Our best yet.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you very much, Rawdon.
Thanks, Amy.
And if you'd like to get in contact with me, visit my posing coach on Facebook, my posing coach on Instagram, subscribe and share this podcast to all your friends and family. Why not everyone? And don't forget to register for more information via my website, myposingcoach.com. Thanks for listening.